I understand the nature of the quarterback change. Listen, we needed a spark. At that time, I felt it was the right time to do it. Obviously, it was a tough situation for both of those guys, but it was my call. It was my call, and I felt it was the right time to do it. So when it goes into next week, I'm not ready to sit here and say what's going to happen with next week with our quarterbacks, but I would say this: that's something I have to look at.
I think, when I assess it from my point of view, I think maybe guys are just trying a little too hard, or, guys want to win, and guys sacrifice a lot to go out here and play this game. And when you're not getting the outcome that, the results that you want, frustration will set in with some guys. And so, whether or not that's the case, you always got to think about the bigger picture and think about when you make mistakes or when you have penalties, turnovers, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the team, you're hurting the guys around you, the other guys who are sacrificing as well. And so it's always bigger than just one person or just one player. It's a team game. And again, man, we all have to go out there and make plays. Every guy's got to make plays, of whether you're offensive lineman, tight end, receiver, running back. When the ball's in your hand, you got to make plays. When you got to block the man in front of you, you got to tackle. I mean, it's football. Blocking and tackling. It's always going to be the game. And until we just do those things exactly right every single game, we're going to still be climbing. And I'm not bitter about it. I'm really upset that we just aren't the team that I envision us being yet. But we'll get there.
Yeah, definitely not happy, not proud of where I'm at with my play, with how I've gone about things this year. I know I got to be a lot better, and I've been better for the Miami Dolphins years past, but this isn't years past. This is this year, right? And just trying to maneuver everything and trying to build a collection of guys to kind of bring along with me, and I got to be able to multitask, if that makes sense. Be able to do that, and while doing that, kind of continue to get the whatever it was last year and the years prior for myself to get going again and get in that.
2 hours later.
Man, shut your bitch ass up.
When it comes down to Aaron Glenn, Justin Fields, and the New York Jets, it's really, really not hard to see why they moved on from Justin Fields. Now, backstory. Justin Fields was once, a high draft pick going to the Chicago Bears. He struggled with the Chicago Bears. They failed to give him an offensive line. They failed to give him a number one wide receiver until late into his tenure in Chicago. And he played well. He had an 8-8 record. But the trade that they did with Carolina gave them the number one overall pick. They decided to move off of him, trade him away to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then they drafted Caleb Williams, and then they started their new regime with Caleb. Now, when he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was clear that he was going to be a backup. It was clear that Russell Wilson was going to be the starter. He was going to learn under under Russell Wilson, and he was going to, kind of redeem himself and teach himself how to be a professional quarterback in the NFL. Now, Russell Wilson goes down early. He comes in, he does a good job. He goes 4-2 as a starter, but a lot of people felt as though like he's just a serviceable backup in the NFL. But when you watch those games and you watch Justin Fields play, you see flashes of, if we can get this for a 16 to 17 game season, then maybe, he can actually be a serviceable starter in the NFL. But what they don't tell y'all is like, it's hard for Justin Fields to be consistent. It's hard for Justin Fields, in the passing game sometimes. It's hard for Justin Fields to get the ball out of his hands to make the simple plays. We know that he can run fast. He can run, and do all these things with his legs. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to make passes from the pocket and able to be a good serviceable quarterback in the NFL. The last game that he played against the Denver Broncos was bad. But you have to give credit where credit is due when it comes down to the Denver Broncos defense, because they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. He only threw for 45 yards. He got sacked a bunch of times. He got sacked 9 times, lost a bunch of yardage, ended up having a -10 net yards passing. It was a bad day at the office for Justin Fields and the New York Jets. And you cannot, I am not taking the pressure off Aaron Glenn and his choices as a head coach. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a lot of weapons for the Jets. They only have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. That's not enough. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to at least do something at the quarterback position to give your team a chance to win. And throwing for 45 yards in that game was atrocious, even though they were in the game and they had a chance to win. You fast forward to this week, you have Carolina on the schedule. That's a weaker team that you're playing, a weaker defense that you're playing. They have some good pieces, but they're not the Denver Broncos as a defense. You go into this game, you only throw for 46 yards in this game. You almost get hurt trying to slide late and almost got concussed out of this game. You end up getting benched for Tyrod Taylor. And I'm not the biggest Tyrod Taylor type of fan. I'm not saying that Tyrod Taylor is the answer long term. I'm not saying he's the answer short term. I think they're the same player, if you ask me. You feel what I'm saying? It's a reason why you bounce from team to team to team to team to team when you're a quarterback, because they don't see you as a valuable starter. They see you as a valuable backup or a journeyman, but you're not the guy. You feel what I'm saying? So, in all, Aaron Glenn was left with a choice to, if I continue with Justin Fields, and this is the hard choice because this is the guy that he wanted. This is the guy that he chose. You feel what I'm saying? So you really have to sit up there and be like, you know what, for the morale of the team and to keep my job, because if I stick this out with Justin Fields all the way through and I go 0-17, there's a highly capable chance of me being fired my first year as a head coach. You feel what I'm saying? So if I can come off of Justin Fields, get at least 1 or 2 wins with Tyrod Taylor, they can see that, okay, I got my locker room back. Now can we start making some moves to kind of, you know what I'm saying, build this team up and build the culture and all these type of things to get the Jets where they potentially want to be. So end all be all, I think that Aaron Glenn made the right choice. I think that Justin Fields is a backup. He has solidified himself as a backup in the league. He had his chances. He had 3 chances actually: the Bears, Pittsburgh, and now the Jets, and it didn't work out.
A few moments later.
Tua. Mike McDaniels, and these Miami Dolphins. This shit is crazy. First of all, I want to go ahead and get this out the way. Tua Tagovailoa has been getting by with being one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. That's just my take. No arm strength, no mobility, no durability, but somehow, someway, Miami decided to give this man a max contract. They decided to pay him for the long term for the success of the Miami Dolphins and being their quarterback. Now, to be honest, the GM and the organization hasn't failed Tua. They gave him a Tyreek Hill. They gave him a Jalen Waddle, Achane, Mostert. Like, this was one of the fastest, one of the most explosive offenses in the league. This is the same offense that put up damn near 70 points on the Denver Broncos. Let's not forget that. Now, was Tua at the helm of that? Yes. Was Mike McDaniel still coaching? Yes. But at the same time, this team, this offense has been predicated on yak yards, on catch and run. Whether this is getting the ball out of Tua's hands, he's throwing 3-yard passes, 4-yard passes, 6-yard passes, 10-yard. There's nothing really down the field. And once teams got a hold of that, they started pressing these fast receivers. They're fast, but they're not big. They're not that strong. You feel what I'm saying? So they found a strategy to make Tua throw the ball in smaller windows, which then gave the opportunity for turnovers. Now, Tua has been in the media for all the wrong reasons this year, whether it's blaming his teammates, whether it's turning the ball over, whether it's, you know what I'm saying, talking down on his head coach, or it's just been a lot, even calling out Tyreek Hill in the beginning of the season because of the things that Tyreek Hill said in his press conferences, which was, you know what I'm saying, the beginning of the dysfunction in Miami. Now, when we talk about leadership with the Miami Dolphins, you don't think of their head coach. There's not a figure in that organization that you look towards, even a player that you look towards to say, you know what, this is our leader. They might have had it with Calais Campbell last year, but he ended up moving on to a different team. Now, when we're talking about leadership quality, culture quality, and just being a team or organization that's functionable for wins, that you can depend on for wins, this is not the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel is not the answer. The Miami Dolphins will have to start all the way over, strip it all the way down. Why do I say that? For number one, when they had Brian Flores at the helm, he wanted Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa. The owner or the GM didn't see it his way. They end up getting Tua for the first 3 years or so. Tua was on a hot seat for not even being the quarterback for Miami. They ended up getting rid of Brian Flores and brought in Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels was supposed to be this guru at offense, play calling, play design, whatever the case may be. They end up getting Tyreek Hill. Once they get Tyreek Hill with Jalen Waddle, it took off, as in the offense, because of the scheme and the way that they played offense. They were fast, they were the motion, everything that came with that offensive style. It fit Tua and those receivers. Now, once the dysfunction happened between Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, the leadership quality, and all these things, you started to see it collapse, and they had nobody with a leadership quality to hold it all together. If you look at some of Mike McDaniel's press conferences and how he talks, how he carries himself, we are talking about grown men in the NFL, these premier athletes. They're not looking at Mike McDaniels as a leader. They're not looking at Tua Tagovailoa as a leader. There's nobody there. Maybe Tyreek Hill, but he's hurt now. So there's nobody to look at to say, you know what, who holds the ship down? They're 1-7, 1-6. They just lost to the Cleveland Browns, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa has thrown 3 interceptions in back-to-back games, and he got benched. If I'm the Miami Dolphins, I am moving on. You have to move on from Tua Tagovailoa. You have to move on from Mike McDaniels. There's some good quarterbacks that you might want to look at coming out of the draft, or maybe you can get one in free agency. There should be a coach out there that you should be able to go after that's going to be stern, that's going to have some type of leadership quality to that offense, to that defense, to that team, to that organization. But as of right now, I am not a fan of Tua. I think Tua is overrated. I've been thought he was overrated. I think that he should be benched for the entirety of the season. If you look at this game, you can tell his team did not play for him. His offensive line did not play for him. His receivers did not play for him. You can tell, you can see it. If you ever been part of a team, your offensive line, those are the guys that's gonna live and die for you. They're gonna make sure you're okay. If you look at some of those pressure concepts that the Browns was throwing at them, they were letting them guys in, man. It's over for Tua, man. It's over. It's time to let go, let God be, man, and it's time to move on. The Miami Dolphins need to strip that down.
Breaking news right now, and no, this is not a drill. Just moments ago, the Seattle Seahawks have agreed to terms with the Las Vegas Raiders on a blockbuster trade, sending their starting quarterback Geno Smith, a 2-time Pro Bowler, to Las Vegas in exchange for a 2025 third-round pick.
That's right. The Raiders have now agreed to terms with Super Bowl winning head coach Pete Carroll to be their new head coach. The former Seahawks coach, legendary Seahawks coach, 73 years old, still wants to get into coaching, still as young as you could possibly be.
You recall there was a situation with the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith where allegedly they offered Geno Smith a contract that was comparable to what Sam Darnold ended up receiving, which was 3 years, $100.5 million. So you go about $33 million per. If
NFL draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State.
I know you probably wondering why I took you down that timeline, right? Well, we have to bring things full circle. We have to let the people know what's really going on with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders had a coaching vacancy that they decided to fill that with Pete Carroll, 75, 76-year-old head coach. But the team is kind of young. Now some would say, well, he won a Super Bowl. Those Seattle teams were good. And he had Geno last time I recall, right? Well, speaking of Geno, they decided to give him a contract extension and, take him away from Seattle. Seattle gave him away for a 3rd-round pick. That says some things about Seattle and what they thought of him, but okay, cool. Now, we were cheering for Geno. We were happy for Geno because we know that Geno got a raw deal when he was with the Jets. A lot of quarterbacks get a raw deal when they're with the Jets. So he grinded, worked his way back to a starting position once Russell Wilson got hurt. That's kind of a thing though. Like when Russell Wilson get hurt, that backup tends to come in and play well. I'm just saying. Now he comes in. They decide to move on from Russell Wilson. They have Geno. But I want to throw some stats out there for you. Geno Smith, last year, 2024, with the Seattle Seahawks. He played all 17 games, so he's pretty durable. Completion rate, 70%. Passing yards, 4,320 yards. That is a lot of passing yards. That is what they are looking at. That is what Pete Carroll is amazed at. That is what they thought they were getting once he got to the Las Vegas Raiders, not knowing that they had a DK Metcalf. Maybe they didn't know, maybe they didn't. I don't know if they forgot. DK Metcalf, grade A receiver. Tyler Lockett, grade A slot receiver. On top of that, you drafted Jackson Smith and Jigma, and last time I checked, you can go look at him as of today. He's a top receiver in the NFL. You have 3 legitimate good, not good, and great receivers for him to throw to. So of course, he's going to be able to throw the ball all over the lots. On top of that, you drafted Kenneth Walker from Michigan State, a good running back. So you had pieces all around the board on the offensive side. He threw for 21 touchdown passes. That's alarming. You throw for a lot of passing yards, but only 21 touchdown passes. With an offense with a team that's predicated on offense, right? 15 interceptions. That's a lot of interceptions. And 21 passing touchdowns. Anybody would say this is an average year. Your touchdowns is not over 30. You're in double digits in interceptions. But you have a lot of passing yardage. Your completion rate is pretty decent. It's 70%. That is actually good. Your passer rating is 93.2. You got sacked 50 times, so that's telling me that you're passing the ball a lot, but you're also holding on to the ball. This is the style they wanted to bring to the Las Vegas Raiders, and it just doesn't fit. That's my whole thing about the Las Vegas Raiders right now. It's like they're trying to force that style that they had in Seattle because it's Pete Carroll and it's Geno Smith. There's history there. And they're trying to force this style on the Las Vegas Raiders, and they don't have the talent for it. You drafted a stud in Ashton Genty at the running back position. You don't have a name at the receiver. I don't care about any receiver that's there right now. There isn't a number one for the Las Vegas Raiders. There's not that type of receiver over there. Yet alone, you had 3 good receivers in Seattle. But you consistently want to pass and pass and pass when you should be a run-first team. But they don't want to do that with the Raiders. They just don't. And Pete Carroll, I don't know if once you're a coach and you hang your hat on a guy and it doesn't work out, it is so hard for that coach to come off that guy. Now, let's look at him as of week 7 with the Las Vegas Raiders. He played 7 games, 65% completion rate. It went all the way down. It went down. Passing yards, 1,417. They're passing the ball a lot. Passing touchdowns, 7. How many interceptions? You have 10 interceptions. You think it's not going to be hard to bench Geno Smith when you gave him a 2-year extension over almost up to $100 million? It was what, 85? 77 passer rating? You've been sacked 19 times already. And you got ramsacked by the Kansas City Chiefs. They just let you know that you're nowhere near where you need to be. But you continue to want to play this play style instead of playing the style that your team is built for as of today. So when it comes down to the Las Vegas Raiders, when it comes down to Pete Carroll, when it comes down to Geno Smith, to be honest, I think that I think the Raiders went the wrong direction. I think they should have went with a younger head coach, in my opinion. I think that they should have went with somebody in the draft, or they should, I don't know. When the quarterback position, it's a hit or miss with Geno Smith, even after the success with Seattle, because you have to look at it full circle. As a team, as a team builder, and you're looking at your team like, do we have these same type of pieces that Seattle Seahawks had at the wide receiver position and at the running back position, and we're only giving them 2 years? So you giving him 2 years, you're saying that, oh, we want to win now, we want to compete now? I think they should have went with the young head coach route, the young quarterback route, and just build from within. You have a young stud at running back, and you build within. Maybe you gotta trade a Max Crosby and get more picks. Maybe you gotta trade someone. You know what I'm saying? You traded Devontae Adams away. Maybe you do. They should have been in a full rebuild mode, and instead I think they went 50% rebuild and 50% I want to win now, and it's starting to blow up in their face. So when it comes down to these 3 teams, man, the Raiders, the Dolphins, the Jets, it's only one team that I said really has time to really turn this around, and that's the New York Jets. I think the Dolphins should rebuild, and I think the Raiders should go ahead and get their guy in the draft when it comes down to their quarterback, and maybe trade away a Max Crosby to get more picks to kind of build that team from within. But in the comments, let me know how y'all feel. Hey, make sure you hit that like button if you're liking the video, and subscribe for more, man. But until then, see you in the next one.